just busy thinking about
books. What's up, Epic Readers? My name's Michael from Team Epic Reads, and on YouTube is Michael Bookline, and you're watching the May Epic Reads book haul. Oh my god, it's May? I have no idea how it's already the month of May, but at least I read some good books last month. The theme of this month's reads, I think, are these books have aesthetics that I'd like to be able to pull off, but I'm just not cool enough yet. And we have Hazelwood by Melissa Albert and The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So first things first about The Cruel Prince, I need to show you guys a little peek under the cover because I'm not even going to use words. Bam! Look at that. This is amazing, much like the book itself. And Holly Black, I'm convinced, I don't have any proof, but I'm convinced she herself might be a fairy because she's so good at telling them stories. So I, again, can't prove it to you, but I have a strong suspicion that it's real. And this is set in the same world as another one of her Fae stories, The Darkest Part of the Forest, except this finds us deeper into the court of the Fae. It follows a human girl and her sisters who, after some tragic events, end up in their world. And it's years later now, and all this girl wants is to be one of the Fae and to be important in the Fae court. And it's like Mean Girls meets The West Wing, but with fairies, if that gives you a picture. It's super twisty. The character arcs are insane. It's very, very high on not only action, but also just like political intrigue. And it was an amazing time, and I need the sequel immediately. And I see you, Holly Black. I see through your Fae disguises. I need to stop. So then we have The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. And if we're talking about beautiful book finishes, bam, these end papers. These books are above and beyond in terms of beauty. I pale in comparison to them. And this is the story of a girl who never knew her grandma, but her grandma was this famous fantasy author who created this world called the Hazelwood. And she was always intrigued by it, but her mom always kept her away from it. She didn't like her grandma. She didn't take her to see her grandma. They couldn't even talk about her. And then one day her mom goes missing by a character that claims to be from the world of the Hazelwood. And just we end up in this twisty, like what's going on, Alice in Wonderland kind of world where so first of all, the author created these amazing fairy tales. Like there are true dark original fairy tales in the story that genuinely at some points had me looking over my shoulder while I was reading because I was so spooked out. And it's just a real trip adventure. It's part set in New York, part set in this fantasy world. And I need to know what happens next because it's just such original fantasy content that I was blown away for parts of this novel. So now I get to talk about the books that we have coming out in the month of May. And first up we have War Story. I don't know where that came from, but this is the fourth and final book in the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. And this series is just, okay, so it's set in a world where there are two types of blood. You can either have red blood, normal, which means exactly that you're a normal person, or you can have silver blood, which means that you have some sort of superpower. So the silver bloods have it a little bit better than the red bloods. And this girl is a red blood, but she one day discovers in front of a group of people that she has superpowers. So that's not supposed to happen, and the sort of ruling people in the place that she lives decide to take her under their wing, and they're not good people, but they try and pretend she's a silver blood to get away with the fact that she has powers, and it just starts the series of events where they're bad, and so she's trying to change the way society is, and she gets recruited by the Scarlet Guard, who are like the rebels, and battles are fought and lost and won, and characters die, and it's just this series. So much has happened to Mare Barrow over the course of the cities, and she can control lightning, but she can't control her future. I don't know where this is all going to end, guys, so yeah. War Story. Stopped. War Story. I don't know where that's coming from. So next we have Put In by Julie Murphy, and just holding this book warms my heart right now. This sees the return of some of your faves from Dumplin'. It's the companion novel, also soon to be a major motion picture, which I am hyped for. And it follows Millie Michaelchuk and Callie Reyes, who are a sort of go-to good girl and like the frenemy popular girl at school, who somehow when they get together end up forming a friendship. And reading a Julie Murphy book is like snuggling puppies while eating ice cream. Like, that's the emotional fix that it gives you. And so just like, can you see how much my attitude perks up when I'm holding this? I'm really excited for the happy, heartfelt times. So the next book I have here is All of This Is True by Lajiye de Peñaflor. And this book is about a group of teenagers who are just totally obsessed with this author and what she's written and want to get to know her and be a part of her life. And relatable, am I right? Well, they should have listened to the Pussycat Dolls when they sang, "Be careful what you wish for, 'cause you just might get it, 'cause you just..." No, not the time. So what ends up happening is that they end up written into the next story by this author, except the drama is hyped up and they didn't agree to this. They didn't know it was happening. This woman was spending time with them to write them into her book. And like, a lot of issues come up from it, and it comes down to not knowing what the truth is and what actually happened. And it's told through like interviews in different ways, like with the people who ended up in the book. And it's, oh, one more thing. The Spine is the title of the author's original book, like the fictional author's fictional book. How cool is that? So the next book we have to talk about here is 9 Days and 9 Nights by Katie Cotugno. And this is the sequel to 99 Days by Katie Cotugno, which followed Molly as she broke one boy's heart for that boy's brother. And so there was drama, hearts were broken, a lot of stuff happened, but she thinks she's moved past it. And she's in another country on vacation with her new boyfriend when she runs into an ex. And she doesn't want her new boyfriend to know the past that they had. And it gets dramatic again, and hearts might be broken again. So you guys are just going to have to tune in to see who she ends up with. And then I have here The Lies They Tell by Gillian French. And this is a twisty mystery novel set in a small town on the water, which I'm hooked. I love that, just set up in general. And it follows the unlikely duo of a boy who is the only survivor of the fire that burned down his whole house and killed his family, and the girl whose dad is accused of starting said fire. And that doesn't seem like a dynamic duo who would team up, but like through getting together, they try to solve what happened and both sort of get something out of this relationship. And it sounds like it's going to be dark and twisty, and I am here for it. And the next book I've got here is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. And this is a story about a black girl who goes missing one day, and how the only person who seems interested in finding her and figuring out what happened is her good friend. And first of all, this cover is super powerful, and then the back too you have to check out is super emotional and beautiful, and I'm just don't know if I'm ready for this story. Like, as you can see with all these stars back here, Tiffany D. Jackson is a hell of a writer. And then next up, we have Allied by Amy Tintera. This is the third and final book in the Ruin trilogy, which is a fantasy series about a girl who goes on this violent revenge plot to get back at the rulers who killed her whole family. And she herself is a ruined, which means she lives in a world where magic exists, but she doesn't have any magic. And so that just adds a little bit of difficulty to her task. And there's war, there's backstab, there's betrayal. This has been a crazy high stakes fantasy series, you guys. And I cannot wait to see how it all ends and if everyone survives. And then next up, I have A Light Too Bright by Samuel Miller. He is literally a rock star author because he's the singer-songwriter of the band Paradise Fears. And his book is the definition of an emotional journey. It follows a boy who finds his late grandfather's journal, who had dementia and the last week of his life disappeared. And so he follows the clues he left behind to see where his grandpa ended up and just sort of retrace the steps to his journey. And emotions are what I'm feeling. And the last book from us that I'm going to mention today is Onyx and Ivory by Mindy Arnett. And this is a fantasy novel that follows a character known as Traitor Kate, whose dad tried to assassinate the High King, which is a big no-no. And so that's how she got the name she has. And she herself also has a forbidden magic, the ability to control animals. And so that adds a layer of difficulty to her situation. And then she just one day casually strolls upon a massacre, the only survivor of which is the prince, son of said High King, who she used to be in love with. And they have to figure out what happened together. It's complicated. but this really does sound like an amazing ride. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about some of the books we received from other publishers this month. The first of which is The Way You Make Me Feel by Maureen Gu. And this is a super cute contemporary about a girl who's forced by her parents to work at her dad's food truck for the summer. And it's not exactly the fun way she saw herself spending her time, but over the course of the summer, she meets cool people and realizes it's not that bad of a punishment. And yeah, summer romance, perfect for the summer. Check it out. And then the last book I have here is Bruja Born by Zoraida Cordova. And this book follows 3 brujas who try to use their dangerous magic to bring back one of the sisters' dead boyfriends. And you really shouldn't defy the gods with your magic, and they learn that the hard way when they do. He might not be the only person brought back from the dead. So that was this month's book haul. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm staring at a tower of amazing reads here that I'm really excited to check out. And comment down below with some of the favorite books that you read last month, some recommendations for me, and I'll see you guys next month. I'm book shaming it out. I don't think I'm ever gonna get better at it. Okay, bye.